This is John Jackson Miller, writer of Star Wars comics and novels, and you're listening to Star Wars with Stevie B. May the Force be with you.
Hey, what's going on, everyone? Welcome back. I got Noah here from Quality Autism. Yes, sir. Last time we had him on, we were talking about the Old Republic era, KOTOR. He was working on that chronology, the old new chronology. I think that's what we kind of deemed it the last time we talked.
Yeah.
But now he's got the prequels all squared away. So let's get him on here. Let's get him talking. Let's dig into this because I'm excited. I'm still waiting on my signed copy, my friend. I'm still going to hold you to that. But how you doing? How you doing?
I'm doing fine. As you know, I had a little bit of problems last few days, but everything seems to be okay
Yeah,
for the channel and so on.
that's good. Did you want to mention that at all a little bit? I mean, or kind of
I mean, sure I can. It's just, in short, there was one copyright strike against the video I uploaded. It got taken down. I got a strike, and now basically it's just like, I just have to make sure nothing like this happens again in the next 90 days, and this one strike will be gone, and that's it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so nothing on my channel is affected. I can still upload videos and live stream and everything. So we are cool.
Good. Good. Yeah, I popped in yesterday when you made that announcement a little bit and caught the tail end of it. But yeah, that's it's kind of it's a shame, especially for the work that you do on the German side of things, because I believe it was on the German side of things the issue that arose. Yeah. And you do stuff over in the American side of things too. So, it's just a shame when you put in all this effort and work, and then I believe you mentioned this video has been out for a long time now, and now all of a sudden it's a problem.
A year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's just, that's a bummer, but good. We'll get that squared away. Everything will be, I'm glad nothing was affected.
Yeah. And yeah, I have to make sure nothing like this happens again, because the channel at this point, it's big enough where I don't want to risk losing it and start new.
Yeah. Yeah, you have a great following, my friend. You're really good. You put in work. That's what, that's why I enjoy talking to all you guys, because you guys truly put in a lot of effort into this and bring in, content and stuff to others, and, you're passionate about it, and it's awesome and it's great. So yeah, let's get that off the books and keep on trucking. So why don't you tell us a little bit? Well, what are you reading right now? What are you into right now? Give us a little update.
Okay, right now I'm not reading a Star Wars book. I'm actually reading a James Bond novelization of Tomorrow Never Dies, which is pretty fun so far. But what I recently finished rereading is the novel Death Star by Michael Reeves and Steve Perry, which I read for two reasons. One, because it's important for the chronology, the stuff that happens in it, but also because it's a great book, and I just, I had the need to reread it, especially because Jeremy from the channel Stupid Chainsaw Productions recently did a review of it, and he praised it and even said it was his favorite Star Wars book.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I wanted to read it again just to see, like, okay, I want to see his point, and I mean, I agree. I think
it's good.
After a second read, this may go into my top 10.
Really?
Maybe.
Oh, I'm excited to read that book, because I enjoy Michael Reeves, the late great, unfortunately. Mm-hmm. And then I really like Steve Perry as well.
Yeah. I would say this is at least on a level with the MedStar duology, which I also absolutely love. But yeah, this book I can recommend right now, especially for people who like or want the Imperial side of things, because we get a couple of main characters like Tarkin or Vader are in it, obviously, but mostly new characters on the Imperial side, or like scoundrels, not really rebel characters in this, which, interesting perspectives and everything.
Yeah, you get to see something from a different point of view.
Mm-hmm.
So that's good. And you mentioned the MedStar duology. I know that's in the prequels, and I've heard a lot of good things about them novels. The duology there, I heard they're really, really good. So let's kick it off with the prequel, the chronology. How did that go? Like how was that going through that overall? We'll just overall broad spectrum, and then we'll dig into it.
All right. Overall, it was fun. but it was also frustrating, but in a surprising way. Because I think I should explain the setup for it. The Old Republic one, which I talked about on here in the last stream I was on,
Mhm.
it went up until the Darth Bane trilogy. Like, it essentially finished with Dynasty of Evil, the third book,
Yep.
in 980 BBY. So, and then the prequel one is from 980 BBY until 0 BBY, essentially, up until, well, kind of a few years before, the Dark Times, essentially, between Revenge of the Sith and New Hope.
Okay.
And when I started writing it, I was thinking the confusing part is going to be the Clone Wars. It turns out the hardest part was Dark Times, the stuff between Revenge and New Hope.
Really?
Somehow, I was very surprised by it.
That's interesting.
Yeah,
Because I'm in like the Clone Wars era of my read through of the timeline. And I just finished Star Wars, the Clone Wars Gambit Stealth. And I recently put a review or a book blog about it up. I enjoyed the first half of it, but then it just felt like a filler episode. It kind of drug on. I didn't really, now I kind of see why everyone kind of doesn't give them a good rating. But anyway, I'm not trying to trail off. But yeah, I'm enjoying the Clone Wars era as well. So continue, please.
Yeah, so with the Clone Wars era, and that's a big topic, since this is the ultimate chronology, the entire story of the Legends timeline, we obviously have to talk about the problems with TCW, the 2008 show.
Yep.
And how it really doesn't fit, and how I was going to approach this. And it came down for me to one thing. I could try to work it in the existing Clone Wars timeline. Because the Clone Wars timeline for the multimedia project is perfectly laid out, and writing all that down very easy. But making it then fit, like insert TCW elements here and there, that's where it gets very, like, not even difficult. It gets impossible.
Yeah, it's crazy. I had a gentleman on, Datacron Keeper Evan, and he's a real big fan of the Clone and dissecting the Clone Wars. And I mean, even some of the work he's done is just like you said. It's just crazy to try to. There's so much of it.
Yeah, exactly. Essentially, what you have to do, it's like you have 3 years worth of stories, which are like in detail, which month, which day happens what. And then out of nowhere with TCW, you get another 3 years, and you have to make it mesh.
Yeah.
And it's difficult. And so when writing it, I was like, I know I can't please anyone. So I have to do what I think is right.
Yeah.
So I decided to leave TCW the show out pretty much entirely. For 2 reasons. For one big reason, being the official new timeline for the Clone Wars was never established. Leland Chi and other people in charge, they said, oh, once the TV show wraps up, we're gonna make a new timeline and explain how it all fits. That never happened. So, and it's like, am I supposed to somehow make sense out of this?
Yeah.
Yeah, and I just decided against it. But with that being said, I did decide to include TCW tie-ins, like the books Wild Space, No Prisoners, even the Gambit duology a little bit.
No, I mean, I think Wild Space and No Prisoners are phenomenal. I really enjoyed both of them.
Yeah, I mean, I did enjoy parts of them, especially like how I decided to work them in the chronology. It's essentially like the Fate of the Jedi books, which I covered in my post-Endor chronology. They mention stuff from TCW, the Mortis story arc, but they leave out Ahsoka, which is good because her existence obviously is also like problematic in the timeline. So what I did with No Prisoners and Wild Space, I wrote down the basic plot synopsis, but I left out the parts that are really like contradictory
Hmm,
or hard to work into the existing Clone Wars.
I see.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't see a problem with that. I mean, who's to say who's right and who's to say who's wrong as well, if you get what I'm trying to say, right? That's why you didn't really
Yeah,
want to
I mean,
tackle it. And
yeah,
there's
like I said, I can't please
right.
everybody with this, so I just have to make one decision, and I think this probably makes the most sense, at least to me.
Yeah, no, and you mentioned too, I don't mean to jump off of the subject here, but you mentioned when is the old chronology going to be available to
Oh,
purchase?
that depends. The German version will probably be out before the English version.
Okay,
Because the German one, I just have to quickly read again, edit, get rid of typos and stuff,
sure,
and
sure.
then turn it into a PDF. So that should be in the next, I say, 1 or 2 months,
Okay,
optimistically. But it needs to get translated into English, and that takes a
takes
lot
us,
of time,
yeah, that takes some time.
especially because my people that help me out also have personal stuff to do and can't work full time on it. So we should see, but this year, definitely, that's my goal.
Okay, good. That's good.
Mhm.
Good to know.
And I actually hope now, with how far I've progressed, that I will publish all of them, the
Oh,
remaining ones this year.
oh, nice.
Hopefully. Hopefully.
Okay, well, hey, that's a good thing.
Mhm.
That'll like maybe like a box set. I think we talked about that in the past. You'd like to eventually have one big collection.
Yes,
That
and
would
I
be
can
cool.
actually give like an idea how big it's gonna be by now. Now
Yeah,
that 3 of the books are finished and only one is remaining. The Old Republic one, it's it's gonna be like 200 pages, about 200 pages in print format.
sure.
Prequel era one, also 200 pages, so 400. The post Endor one, which is already out, is 400
Yep.
in English. So now we are at 800
Yeah.
pages. And
And
then
you got one
Rebellion era
more.
one, probably also 200, 1,000 pages.
Wow. Man, that'll be good though. And it's it's important to note as well that obviously the post Endor would be the biggest.
Oh, yeah, that's where the most stuff went into because
Yeah, there's so
for me,
much and
there's so much. And I mean, it was basically the entire 1990s era.
run. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's a lot of material. A lot of
Mhm.
material to cover.
Yeah. And also because I think it's just the most interesting and the one where it's like most worthy to go in depth because I think that's what most people are interested in and probably don't know much about.
Yeah.
Because with other stuff like Old Republic, you have the video games, or Clone Wars, you have the show,
The animated series. Yeah, there's a
Better
lot of
Tarkovsky, the
marketing.
comics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now to jump back into the Clone Wars, did you take the Tarkovsky Clone War? I might have butchered that name to pronounce it. I apologize. But the micro series, did you
Mhm.
incorporate? Okay.
Oh, definitely, definitely.
Yep. That was I really enjoyed that. I believe we talked about that last time too because I
Mhm.
just watched it and I believe you just recently watched it at that time as well or finished watching it again and we were just kind of talking about it a little bit. So yeah, I was just curious if you I figured you did.
Yeah, obviously.
So when you were going through this journey, rereading and taking notes and such, what was your favorite part so far? Like, novelization.
Hmm. Novelization.
Yeah.
You mean the favorite thing to reread,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Oh,
Favorite book. I'm sorry. Yeah. I was trying to get fancy with you. Throw around
okay.
some big words.
Favorite of the era. I would say Darth Plague. It's gotta be Darth Plagueis.
Yeah.
Because rereading that with like the knowledge of all the rest of the expanded universe, it hits different.
It's a good book. It's a favorite amongst a lot of folks. I mean, it's popular. It's good. There's so much information in there that you can get, you know.
Yeah.
Um, so when you were writing this, okay, you were going through the prequel era. Now, did you watch any of the films as well, just to kind of throw that in the mix at all?
No, I didn't rewatch the movies because I think, the plots, we know them by heart,
Right.
essentially.
Yeah. No, I was just curious to see, because it's just so hard. Like when I finished Attack of the Clones, the novelization by Salvatore, it made
Mhm.
me want to go watch the movie because that's not it. Attack of the Clones has not been like my favorite, film out of the prequels. It's not terrible, but it's, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, it's Attack of the Clones.
Yeah. But reading the novelization made me think a little bit differently about it. So I was just curious if any of that played a factor for you, if you.
It kind of did with the Phantom Menace, and especially stuff like Darth Plagueis, but also some other short stories and stuff tying into it, and like the events taking place during the movie. So, yeah, I would say it did a little bit.
Yeah. Okay. Good. Good. After reading, you know, Darth Plagueis and then continuing on, did you just jump right in one right after the other, and take any comic books into a factor? I mean, I'm assuming you went through the whole kit and caboodle here.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't reread every novel.
Okay.
One, because I didn't have the time, obviously, but also not the energy. The comics, yeah, obviously, like the Republic series, uh, which is great because that takes place um, before, shortly after Phantom Menace, and then it becomes the main Clone Wars series.
Yeah, I've heard
So that
good.
was a big one.
Yeah, the Republic. Yeah, why don't you touch on that a little bit because I've heard good things about the Republic series, and I actually recently got some of the comics
Hmm.
at a collectorabilia event where a lot of vendors come and people that collectors and they get rid of their stuff. And I mean, it was a stack of comic books like this that I got. There was some legacy comics that like it was a good find. So I've heard good things about the Republic series.
Yeah, nice. So Republic, the series is just great because it starts. I don't remember up until which issue. I want to say six, no, 45 or something, up until a certain issue. It's just random stories, essentially, taking place uh, around the time of Phantom Menace or between Phantom Menace and Attack of the Clones, about the Jedi characters like Mace Windu, the High Council. Ki-Adi-Mundi gets a lot of stuff, especially he has the first big story arc in there. And a lot of characters get introduced in it. And it was essentially just this, it was titled just Star Wars at the beginning. And, just giving the spotlight to some of the new prequel era Jedi characters. And then when the Clone Wars became a thing, the series got retitled Star Wars Republic, and then just focused on the Clone Wars. But it brought back so many characters and elements from the first half of the series, which, really helped put the whole thing together as one. And it's also very important because Legacy, since you mentioned it, that series especially builds, on top of it in a way with one character in particular that I don't want to spoil for people.
Yeah, I don't want to get spoiled because I haven't
Mhm.
read all that far.
Let's just say Legacy can be read as a standalone, obviously, but there's one certain character, a couple, but there's one in particular who plays a very big part later on, and Republic is his origin story, so to speak.
Okay. I want you brought up Michael Reese before with the
Mhm.
Death Star. What about his novel with Darth Maul?
Shadowhunter.
Yes.
Yeah, that's a very, very good one. Yeah,
Yeah.
that was fun to write the summary, especially because Darth Plagueis obviously also ties into it and fills a couple of the blank spots.
Yeah, I enjoyed that. I heard they released an unabridged, or no, excuse me, with oh my goodness sakes, I forget his name now. He does the voice of Darth
Sam
Maul.
Witwer.
Yes, I heard that was really good
Oh yeah,
to
I heard the
listen to.
same.
Yeah, he does a great job. He really embraces the character. We'll say he does a great job. Seeing some of his interviews and such. Well, you mentioned that was a fun thing to write. I was going to ask you what was the most fun the best moments that you had while you were writing it. Like
Okay,
when
the best.
it made you smile and you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about that. That was.
Okay, it's in the first couple of chapters where I'm basically going from 980 BBY up until like 100 years before Phantom Menace. And that era in Legends is pretty empty in a way. Like with the Disney canon, obviously they have the High Republic taking
Yep.
place in that time frame. In Legends, we do have stories there, but they are scattered throughout, like some little comics here, some short stories there, articles and stuff. One of the ones I enjoyed the most, the character Vima Daboda from Dark Empire, famously. Her backstory is very interesting to me, and that took place a couple hundred years before Phantom Menace, and that was very fun to write.
Yeah. Interesting.
Also, one Star Wars Tales comic that explains where the Dark Side Cave on Dagobah came from.
Really?
Yeah, it's interesting because it's a member of Yoda's species called Minch fighting a Dark Jedi on Dagobah.
Really?
Yeah,
I've never heard of this before, so I'm
yeah,
intrigued.
and that's interesting because that was used as an explanation for the Dark Side Cave, and it's just a fun little comic story. It's also interesting because it's the first of like at least 2 Dark Jedi incidents in the Bibfash system, which is introduced in the Thrawn trilogy. And the second one was at the end of the Clone Wars, and it was a couple of Dark Jedi in the system running amok, and they got defeated by Yoda. So we have 2 instances of like Yoda aliens defeating Dark Jedi in this system, just a couple hundred years apart.
That's crazy, man. I love this. I love, right now I'm currently reading the Tales of the Jedi, the Epic Collection, the Volume 1, the very first, where it's way before. And I started reading it this morning, and it's like, man, I'm intrigued by all this. It's cool when you just read about things that could have been or how they were way back. Like I had no idea that there was species of Yoda and Dark Jedi and how the cave was discovered.
Yeah.
So it's awesome. That's why I love your chronology, man. It's just so simple. You add good things in there. You hit the punch. I'm just excited knowing to get these. To be honest with you, and to have them to go back to and. It's like, oh yeah, brush up on this and this. Because like you said, you didn't have all of us don't have the time in the world to read or go through comics. I mean, it would be nice, right? It would be fun. I would do it. So to have these, to just go back and reference it, it's perfect. I mentioned that I wanted to skip over. I didn't want to finish the Clone Wars Gambit duology now because I felt let down. I felt like it was a TV episode, which no big deal. I love Anakin. I love Obi-Wan. I want more. I like to learn, but it just didn't hit it for me, that big.
Yeah. Which is funny because I mentioned I did include Gambit in my chronology. Yeah. It's like 1 paragraph, and it's like 2 sentences.
That's it. Yeah, it wasn't.
I kept it short because there wasn't really much story.
And I understand that. And some books ain't gonna hit for everyone, and some people might like them books, and that's great. Like I said, there was great. Like I loved half of the first book, but then it just kind of fell off. So what else did you discover while you were going? You mentioned the cave. Like you got me on that one.
I discovered a lot. One thing that I found just amazing. It's by Abel G. Pena, who was one of the big lore guys. Wrote a bunch of articles connecting the most obscure stuff. And he wrote a Clone Wars short novella called Skywalkers. Like Sky, Skye, Walkers, named after a planet called Sky. And it's basically a prequel to a old Marvel Star Wars comic. where Luke and the gang visit this planet that Obi-Wan and Anakin and Darth Vader were on during the Clone Wars. Because that comic was under the assumption, written with only episode 4, and the people were thinking, oh, okay, Anakin Skywalker and Darth Vader were two different people. And that short novel, Skywalkers, basically explains why they thought that, and it wasn't actually Vader, it was another apprentice. And what the novel also does, it introduces a villain called Zeta Magnus, who is based on a villain from a cancelled 1980s toy line called Alpha Prime. And that's just an amazing thing, because apparently Kenner, the toy company, wanted to do a toy line set after Return of the Jedi with a new character called Alpha Prime, and he was gonna have his own clone army attacking the galaxy. And he was gonna have a clone of Tarkin, just because apparently they didn't make a Tarkin toy, and now they wanted to make one, and they needed a story reason.
Really?
Yeah, and that was Abel G. Pena trying to make these events canon or work it in.
Wow.
With the character, and that's amazing, especially because that's the only appearance of this Zeta Magnus character, but he gets referenced in a bunch of other spots. One of the most amazing things I have discovered, Pena tried to bring back Darth Maul, explain his return, before TCW brought Maul back from the dead.
Really?
Yes, because Maul originally he came back from the dead in a non-canon comic called Old Wounds.
Okay.
Famously, that's the one where Darth Maul, with the robot legs, returns and he fights Obi-Wan on Tatooine. And that was just non-canon. It was just like a cool concept that
Just
one of
something.
the artists drew. Yeah. But Pena was like, I kind of want to make this story canon. So he has one line in Skywalkers implying that this Magnus villain helped rebuilding Darth Maul's mechanical legs. And then TCW came out later. And it was like, oh, that's useless now. Darth Maul returned in another way in this show. But that's something I worked in my chronology. I left TCW out, and also Maul's return in it. But Maul technically does return in the Legends timeline now. Just with this mention in Skywalkers and the Old Wounds comic being made canon by it.
Wow.
So we have really two different versions of Maul's return here. And that was insane to discover.
Yeah. How in the heck did you come across that?
It's just nuts. I'm looking up something like, okay, this character, I'm checking my sources, and there's oh, he's mentioned here, and this is said here, and the article posts by Pena on the forums back in the day. Another obscure one, also connected to Darth Maul. He had a name that was cut from Phantom Menace reference books. I don't remember right now what it was, but it was a real first name and last name, other than Maul. That was apparently just an Sith alias, his title.
So he had, really?
Yeah, I think I can double check, but it was something interesting.
No, that's really interesting. I never knew that. I was going to ask you, since we're on the topic of Maul, what do you think of Maul Lockdown?
Oh, I really love it.
Yeah, I was going to say, I believe when you did your ranking videos of the novels, that scored up there really well, and I'm a really big fan of that book. I think it's a fantastic read. Mr. Joel Schreiber did a great job. You root for Maul in that book. He's the bad guy, but it's a bad guy that you want to root for, essentially, in that novel. But I just wanted to throw that in there because I love that book. It's one of my favorite top book.
Yep. Oh, and I just found it. So apparently this was cut. So it's technically non-canon.
Okay.
Technically. But I have included cancelled content before, because most of the stuff can still fit.
Sure.
It just, the content was cut. And apparently Darth Maul's original name was Kamir Sarin.
Wow. Well, that's the first time I'm hearing that. So whoever's watching this, there's a first right there for you Maul fans.
Yeah,
Please go in.
that was a deep dive finding
Wow.
that. That's amazing.
You know,
And
even go on.
another thing, quick, since we're on the topic of
Sure.
discovering names, apparently in the Russian translations of the prequel novelizations, Palpatine is actually given the first name, Cos Palpatine,
Really?
which was the original name of the Emperor in one of the first drafts of Star Wars was Cos Deshit.
Hmm.
So I don't know why they took this, but it fits within Legends because Palpatine's father is named Kosinga Palpatine. And the Plagueis novel obviously explains he hates his father and he doesn't use his first name at all,
Right.
and we never learn what it is. So him being named Kos, like after his dad, makes sense.
Yeah, man. That's so cool going. Now, since you mentioned that was from a Russian translation, do you look at different? Because I know there's some folks that collect. I know Christopher Nelson, he collects, obscure books and different, Is there? Well, you just found that name, right?
Yeah, just the name, which I was amazed by that they
It,
used it.
like you said, if it's non-canon or canon, even maybe if you said you put it in there, even if it didn't fit, it would still be cool to have that somewhere notated, like on the bottom and some asterisks saying, such and such. That would be cool to see that because
Yeah.
there's like you said, there's a lot of obscure things out there. And
Mhm.
a lot of other folks are coming out with videos with that,
Yeah. And I would say I would put it in the same category as like the German exclusive Heine Minis, which I have included, the story 980 years after
Yeah.
the movies, which it's stuff it was released by publishers who had the rights to to Star Wars to publish stuff, but it wasn't necessarily like talked about with Lucasfilm. So for me, it exists in this quasi canon, and I would count the German Heine Minis, which I have included, the Hungarian Han Solo novels,
Yeah.
which I would also include, and then stuff like this, the Russian translation giving him this first name. I would call quasi canon. I would keep it in, and I would write it in my chronology as like uh, allegedly his first name is this, just
Right,
as a
right.
little safety net. But yeah, I think that's fun. I think that's great.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, there's a lot of us that love them little bits and pieces of things that, trying to collect all this is hard, as you know. I mean, it's hard to come across a lot of this old material.
Mhm.
And it's pricey too when you do kind of, whether you shop for it on eBay or some other place or some Star Wars group where they're buying and selling and trading stuff. It's nuts,
Mhm.
how much it can go for. That's really neat. So yeah, you must just doing this, going through this process must be a headache, but it also must be really fun.
Oh, it is definitely fun. It's definitely fun. Revisiting some stories, writing the summaries for it. Um, it's just great, and discovering the connections, obviously.
Yeah. Let's see. Outbound Flight.
Hmm.
I love that book. I thought that was a great book. That was my first, I've read Heir to the Empire trilogy and such, but like a pre-Thrawn was really cool to see, before where he come from, the Chiss. I didn't know he had a brother. There's a lot of things I didn't realize about Thrawn.
Yeah.
He's a popular character. I just didn't mean to ramble on, but it just made me think of some things.
Hmm. And it has a mini sequel, so to speak, with the short story Mist Encounter, which I think is included in the paperback.
Really?
Oh yeah.
I have the hardcover, so I don't.
Oh yeah, I recommend Mist Encounter. It's basically how Thrawn joins the Empire. It's set like 1 week after Revenge of the Sith.
Really?
Hmm. Also included in my chronology. It's like one whole chapter.
Cool. That's cool. Have you done anything different with this chronology? Like, I know we talked about it in the past a little bit, but like obviously things change as you progress. So have you
Mhm.
done anything different with this one?
I did try one new thing with the Clone Wars chapters. I was taking basically from the new essential chronology, which details what happens when in the Clone Wars, and basically has this little text about the events, as you can see here, with some illustrations and stuff. What this book did, which I found interesting, it gives the year, like 22 BBY. This is the year, and then it also underneath it says like 6 months after the Battle of Geonosis. And I kept this in here because I found it interesting, and I also used it for the Dark Times section, where I just said like, oh, this story, these events take place 2 months after the declaration of the Galactic Empire or whatever. And that turned out to be a headache.
Yeah.
That was more difficult than I expected with the Dark Times era.
Yeah, let's talk about that. You just brought it up. Yeah, you said that was tough. I was surprised because I figured the Clone Wars would have been the headache.
Yeah,
you know?
that's what I was thinking going in, that the Clone Wars would be difficult, but it really wasn't, because most of it, I'm just going to stick with the multimedia project timeline. Okay, easy. I'm inserting like 3 or 4 TCW tie-in stories. Okay, that was also easy. And then I got to Dark Times, and I was thinking, well, we don't have much content there, so obviously also easy. We have the Dark Times comic series, Purge, a couple of Vader minis, Coruscant Knights books, and Dark Lord, and like little stuff. But essentially, it should be very easy. It wasn't, because 2 things I discussed. Okay, the one big thing. Most of these stories I just listed take place in the same year, which is 19 or 18 BBY, which I think it has to be retconned to be 18 BBY, because all of this can't fit in 1 year. You know, writing like this takes place 4 weeks, 1 month, 2 months after Revenge of the Sith was so difficult, because you have to bring all of these books and comics in order. And that was harder than I expected, because they take place like right after another.
Yeah, that man, I didn't realize like that. That's kind of how that all plays out.
Yeah, because at first I also was like, okay, I know all of this takes place close together, but it should still be easy to say like, oh, here's a little break, and then this comic takes place, and then we have this book, this short story, this comic. But no, it was kind of a nightmare figuring this out, especially with the calendar. You know, what month is this? Like, what time in the year exactly? And it's probably still not 100% bulletproof, the time, the dates I give, but it's the best I could do. Like, yeah, I'm happy with how it turned out.
Good. That chronology book that you pulled up there a minute ago, does that have the TCW stuff in it or no?
No. That's the new essential chronology, which was released in 2005.
Okay.
And this basically tried to tell the entire story on 230 pages with illustrations, and it included New Jedi Order and the entire prequel movies now, which is the new part of it. So that's nice, but only until
So
2005.
far. Yeah.
So a lot of stuff is missing, and a lot of stuff is just cut short, essentially.
Yeah. Yeah, I've seen them books before, but I wasn't sure. I know that Pablo Hidalgo has that one, the Essential Reader's Guide, that people talk about a lot. I heard that's really, it's a good thing to have, because I believe it has the comic stuff in there as well. As far as I know, comic book information.
The Reader's Companion?
Yeah. Does it or no?
A couple of spotlights for like important ones like Dark Empire, but mostly no, just short stories and written novels and stuff.
Okay. Yeah. Them are kind of hard to get as well, I believe, some of them. That's crazy to think of that, like you obviously got Kenobi in there, right?
Yep.
How did that go?
That went surprisingly well.
Yeah.
It's a title. It's a chapter I just titled "Old Ben," and it's just the story of the book. And then a couple of events that happen that I don't want to spoil. But the fight against resurrected Darth Maul is also in there.
Really? Nice.
Yeah.
Cool. Yeah. I'm curious to see that, because I mean I like the book Kenobi. I thought that was good.
Mhm.
Another one of my favorites. So it's just interesting to hear, asking you about these books. Rogue Planet was another. I know it's not a lot of folks will say aren't that big of fans of it, but I thought, young Anakin in there was good. We get his first kill. Don't mean to spoil that for anyone, but his first kill comes from that book. So that was, pretty exciting.
Yeah. And it's also important lore-wise, because
Yeah.
obviously the New Jedi Order connections, and it's basically the first appearance of what's gonna become the Death Star.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, that was fun. and cool.
You guys, and you always mention these ties to the New Jedi Order. It drives me nuts because I just want to read the books now. I just want to jump ahead and forget everything else, because it sounds like they really did a good job trying to tie things together into the New Jedi Order, we'll say.
Oh yeah, it was basically, for a time, it was the big end game. It was the massive event. Everything led into it.
Yeah, I mean, I know we're talking about the prequels, but like you mentioned, I've heard that you're the second person to tell me that there's ties in there to the New Jedi Order.
Yeah, even the prequel era has a bunch of connections to it, like more Lockdown.
Yeah.
The first chapter has Darth Maul fighting
Jean
Yu
Vong.
Wong.
Yeah, I know. That's cool. It's oh man, it's exciting. So what go ahead.
Oh yeah, I just was gonna say, last time for the Old Republic one, I mentioned the KOTOR SWOTOR section.
Yeah.
Being 59 chapters long, which is pretty insane.
Yeah.
And now I can check with the prequel one. The Clone Wars section of it is 56 chapters.
Really?
And that's just 3 years compared to KOTOR and SWOTOR, which is like a couple of hundreds of years.
Wow.
So yeah, insane stuff.
Man. Let me ask you this real quick. The Republic Commando books. Okay. What's your thoughts over? I don't own any of them yet. I got them coming. Obviously the Essential Legends, they're starting to make them in their waves now. So that'll be, I don't feel like buying multiple books just to keep reading. But what's your thoughts overall of that series? I mean, you don't have to spoil nothing for me. Just curious.
I do enjoy the first book, Hard Contact. I think that's a pretty good standalone. Then the next book is also interesting. The next one is 000, which takes place mostly on Coruscant, which is nice. It's a strange comparison, but the first book and the second book kind of remind me of Predator and Predator 2, where one is in the jungle and the sequel is in the city.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that was fun. What kind of ruins the series for me to a degree is the romance plot in it, which I wasn't a fan of.
Okay. Is it written bad? Or you're just not a romance type of guy, Mr. Noah?
Well, I'm fine with romance. I would say
Okay.
it's definitely the writing. It's a bit rushed. I don't want to spoil it, but things happen too quickly in the second book.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. And I guess just some of the author's opinions come through in the writing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I believe you're...
Yeah, without spoiling much, Karen Travis is not a fan of the Jedi at all.
Yeah. Okay. And yeah, I know you've had strong opinions on Karen Travis. That's why I wanted to ask you. But I wanted to know, because I like I like that side of things, learning a little bit about that, the commandos, and they're out there in the war. I heard the MedStar duology is very good in that aspect of it. And obviously we get some Jedi, we get some lore there. You want to touch on them books a little bit? Because I know them are pretty popular.
Oh yeah, sure. MedStar. MedStar is great because it's a really different side of the war. it's just these doctors, in this Republic unit, and clones basically don't really play a part in it. Like they get injured and they have to be like, treated and stuff. But
Yeah.
it's mostly like these, the doctors, the nurses. We got a reporter there, and it's just fun with these like the type of personnel you don't really see, because most of the clone war stories are soldiers or stuff. So it's just a fascinating aspect.
Good. Okay. Yeah. Just kind of jumping around a little bit, getting your thoughts, poking and prodding, having some fun. Some of these books, I've read Shatterpoint. I thought that's a fantastic novel as well. How was that journey?
Shatterpoint. Oh, it's a great book. I'm looking forward to rereading it, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't have a time to for the chronology, but yeah, I remember really enjoying it.
Yeah, it's good. I like anything with Mace Windu. I like to get a little bit more, Mace, especially in the micro series. I thought he was fantastic in there.
Oh
Very,
yeah.
very brutal, hardcore. I liked it in a sense.
And we get more of that in one of the most like forgotten and underrated comic series, Clone Wars Adventures, and it's 10 paperbacks. It's like collection of little comic short stories, like 4 stories each, and
Okay.
they are all drawn like in the same animation style as the TV show.
As the show, I think I
Yeah.
might have a few of them. I think I got one with Chewbacca on the cover.
Yeah, possibly.
Yeah, I can't. I'm trying to, when I come across this stuff and I see it, it's like I want to grab it, and then I forget what I exactly have, and just to have it all. But that's good. Yeah. What about the? I'm trying to think. I picked them up. The Jedi. Well, actually, just one second. I'm gonna just go back there and grab them.
All right.
I want to see here. Rise of the Sith. Is this incorporated at all into?
Absolutely. It should be. I mean, you can look at it, but I
I'll
think there
show it
should
up
be
here.
Republic in there, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because I think it should say what's in there. I think Jedi Council Acts of War is in there.
Let's see
So
here. Survivor Children of the Force. Qui-Gon and Obi-Wan. Jedi Council. Star Wars Tales. The Dark Side. Vow of Justice.
Yeah, all of that is included.
Yeah, okay. I'm just kind of having fun lately going on this comic book, reading some of these epic collections. I just finished Knight Errant. I know that's the old Republic, but I just finished that comic book series up. Now I told you I was on Tales of the Jedi, but I'd like to read these Rise of the Sith. I believe there's 2 volumes of it. So
yeah, which I don't know how I feel about, because I think they are collecting in like the timeline order, but not like the series order.
Okay.
Because this one includes a bunch of the Republic series, but it throws like Tales stories and like Jedi Council Acts of War in between.
Yeah, there was.
Yes. Yeah, because I know we had this discussion recently on my Discord server. I talked with some people, and one complained that the Republic series is hard to collect like in one, because they spread the stories out in
They
different
jumped all
epic
over.
collections. Yeah.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense now. That's why I was wondering why they throw some different things in there. But yeah, I can see what you're saying. Yeah, I know you guys are hot in the Discord chat. I'm not on there much, so I apologize for that. But I know you guys.
You're not missing much.
Well, you guys have some good conversations. I know there's a lot of different Discord servers, that I'm a part of, and I peek once in a while, and you guys get in depth and have some good conversations, and that's awesome to see that. Yeah, and there's so much of the prequel era that I probably like, a lot of the comic book stuff, the little short stories, like you said, like you're adding in all these things in the chronology that I commend you for, because I would have no idea of them, and I'm sure most people. A majority will say most people probably don't know about all these obscure and little pieces that you can grab from all over the place.
Yeah.
That's out there.
Yeah, and it's not just very obscure stuff, like I mentioned, like Maul's original name, or like Palpatine's potential first name that I discovered. But stuff in the Clone Wars era that's hard to find nowadays, like Michael Stackpole wrote a Clone Wars short story called like Illusion, and it's about Ayla Secura going to Corellia, and it's like I think it was the last thing he has ever written for Star Wars, and
Man.
it's hard to find nowadays, and I've included it, and I recently read it for the first time, and I thought it was great. It also connects obviously to his X-wing stuff because he has a certain character in there. Don't want to spoil, but yeah.
No, I appreciate the no spoilers. Yeah, that's great, man, and that's why, like I said, I really enjoy the work you're doing with the chronologies, because it's when you come across something that's like, wait a minute, you go back, what is this? Where is this from? And you add where you get. You put it together, and it's just good, and I can't stress that enough. And I'm not just bragging you up because you're my friend. It's the truth. I like simple.
Mhm.
Let's get to the point. Let's see where it's at. I don't need all these little fancy things. Just show it to me. Explain. I'm here for the story. I want to see. I want to read it. I don't need, a bunch of smoke and mirrors, we'll say.
Yeah.
So that's great. That's great. So your plan. So most likely you want to release these as one big collaboration, correct? One big box
Mm,
set, we'll say. That's kind of the plan here.
yeah, that's the plan. But I do think I want to get them out as quickly as possible. Uh, Obviously in German and English, which means I will probably uh, publish each of them individually, like an Old Republic one, and then
Okay, good. Okay.
separately the
I
prequel
wasn't
one.
I wasn't sure if we had to wait or if,
Yeah, because I don't want people to wait too long for it. Like I do want to get this, done as quickly as possible, but still deliver some quality. So yeah,
yeah. Any pictures? Have you decided that yet? Are you going to add any little pictures in, or some different designs?
I was thinking about it, but just for safety, I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, I suppose. Yeah,
But what I think I may be able to do, obviously separately, I'm gonna release them with like boring bland covers, so they don't, Disney
yeah.
doesn't get to. But I recently discovered there is Star Wars fan fiction on Amazon, for example, which uses like the Star Wars font or like pictures, like clearly Star Wars related. So I was thinking maybe I can do the big like 1,000-page behemoth with
Ooh.
a really good cover. And I was thinking the cover that I did, the blue one with the Return of the Jedi lightsaber.
Yeah.
Yeah, this classic cover design. And I think I'm actually try getting that one done for like the big behemoth, so people can actually get the entire history of Legends, with a good looking cover. Once it's all done.
Yeah. That'd be great. That'd be great. And I don't mean to jump off subject here, but like, just was it yesterday or the day before? It was 9 years now.
Yeah.
From my understanding, I had no idea. Well, I mean, I had idea, but I didn't know the date and everything. What's your thoughts on that, real quick? I know a lot of folks were making videos, and is there anything that you want to say about that, or hoping that it continues on, or?
I mean, I don't know what to say. Just realizing it has been 9 years, it's like, wow, time flies.
Yeah, it truly does. It truly does. Yeah, I had no idea that it was really, when you think of it, that long, and there's such a community still for it that pushes for it, respects it, and talks about it, and loves it, and embraces it. And to be honest with you, I feel even with Disney, it's still bringing fans to the expanded universe. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Because even if they're just new coming into it, and all of a sudden you see this Essential Legends book, it's like, where's this coming from? And then, people start to do research, and then here we go. And now we got all this big lore and backstory. Well, I want to know about this.
Mhm.
Wow, how come we haven't seen nothing like this? So I don't know. I feel for everyone that had to go through that and still goes through that. I wasn't a part of that. I didn't come into this game on the side of things until later, so it doesn't, it's a bummer because it's so good. A lot of the authors are so good.
Yeah.
And I would love to see them write more. And it's like you said, time flies and we're starting to lose people.
Yeah, especially the last 2 years was really rough, losing a bunch of important people like L. Neil Smith, Tom Veitch, his wife, Dave Wolverton, and recently Greg Bear, who wrote Rogue Planet.
Rogue Planet.
So yeah,
It's
Michael Reeves, obviously.
That's a lot. That's a lot of people.
Yeah. And I mean, I don't know if I have big hopes, but next year it's going to be 10 years. So I know Disney probably doesn't have much interest, but I do hope that there's a little bit of a chance that we get something.
Yeah.
We can just hope, because I know some of the authors clearly still have passion for it, or stories they want to tell, like Drew Carpathian.
I know.
Always talked about, his Xana novel ideas.
That'd be great.
Yeah, but even just a little short story or something like Marvel issue 108, it would just be nice. A nice little, here you go. It's 10 years later and you guys are still around.
Yeah. Or somehow mingle it back in. No. A multiverse, No.
A multiverse of madness.
Yeah, we can't have that. We can't do that. That's too much. But then again, they did do it with the Spider-Man, which was pretty interesting. So anyway, back to we were trailing off there a little bit, but that's okay because we're having fun. This is an impromptu coming at you. That's what this is right now. You were going to say something.
Yeah, something I just thought of. There is going to be a Legends Con in California, I think, soon. Yeah. Which I didn't look into it that much. Oh, nice.
If you can see that. Yeah, little bookmarker. I supported him.
Very nice. Yeah. What I'm looking forward to, because they have invited some of the authors, which is great. I know Sean Stewart is going, who wrote Yoda Dark Rendezvous, which is absolute masterpiece of a book.
Good.
And they also invited, and this is the most fascinating part, Corina Becko, who wrote Legacy 2. And here's the thing. That comic series, Legacy 2 about Anya Solo, had a bunch of open questions at the end, because it had to end quickly because of Disney, If we have a chance to talk to her and she actually gives answers,
yeah,
I have to rewrite my post-endo chronology and work that stuff in.
That'll be
because
right.
Because I am gonna include if the authors come back nowadays and talk about, in my head, I haven't written it down or not talked with Lucasfilm that much about it, but this is what happened to my characters, or this was my idea to resolve this storyline. It's gonna go into the chronology.
Yeah. Why wouldn't it? That'd be great to have that. That would be truly great to. I know it was mentioned it'd be nice in the Essential Legends, or even in the stuff that they're reprinting in Legends, if the authors gave a little note in there, or some sort of a beginning intro, a new opening. You know what I'm saying? Just a little something different added to it for the fans.
Yeah, similar to the Heir to the Empire 20th anniversary edition they did, where Zahn did a commentary with the entire book, which was nice. Yeah, that would have been fun.
I hope this Legends Con turns out well, and the folks behind it, are putting they're obviously doing the work to make this epic, because this is the first con that I'm aware of that's revolved around the Star Wars expanded universe.
Yeah, I just know that there were apparently some attempts to make one before that fell apart. But this is like the furthest they have ever gone with
Oh,
it.
it's happening. It seems.
Yeah, and even like getting offers on board, like to come there, that's fascinating. And like I said, that's what I'm, because obviously I can't go
Right.
there to California, but I'm hoping we have some hardcore fans in there asking lore
Oh,
questions,
oh, I'm
questions
sure.
about the characters and books, because this is a great opportunity to get like questions answered that we had for like 9 years.
And this opens the door, okay? Because you got to think, there's folks out there that watch people. There's folks out that watch streams. I'm sure there's people that watch yours or Matt Wilkins that have influence, okay?
Mhm.
I'm sure they're going to keep an eye on this Legends Con to see what kind of attention this has drawn or how much. It's like, wow, they did this con all on their own, and it turned out to be this massive event, and now people want another one. It could open some doors. I don't know. It's a thought. Anything's possible nowadays, really.
Yeah.
It truly is. So it'd be great. I can't go. It'd be great to go to be a part of that. I've never been to a big con, nothing like that. So I'm hopeful for it. I'm hopeful for everyone going. I'm excited for it. I can't wait to see how it shakes out. And it's just months away now, really.
Mhm.
So excellent. Yeah. I don't know what to tell you, Noah. It's just there's so much happening lately. It's nuts. It's
Yeah.
nuts. So what else do you have planned after you get done writing all these?
All of them. After
Yeah.
finishing all of them
Yeah.
already. I didn't really
movie?
think about it. No, not a movie.
Oh, okay, I'm just wondering.
Oh man, that would be something. Yeah. Next up, I'm writing a script, a treatment.
We can all get together. You can have Jeremy in on this. You can Red 5. He can be a really big overgrown Ewok. We'll figure it out.
Yeah. So I didn't really think about it, but yeah, finishing this right now, like this project is very like near and dear to me because
Yeah.
Going back to like 2012, because back in the day when I was young, 10 years ago now, over 10 years, I remember looking up like Wikipedia articles, seeing all these stories, Palpatine return, Yuuzhan Vong, didn't know what order it goes in. And what I always wanted to see is like an actual breakdown of everything that happens that I didn't see in the movies.
Yeah.
So I get like the full history. And now I'm finally getting it.
You're
I'm
doing
writing
it.
it.
You're doing it. And that's awesome. You're doing,
Mm-hmm.
a dream, a passion project, and you're putting in good work. That's why I'm glad to have met you and to be a part of this and being able to share this journey with you a little bit and get some insight. I know I touched on little places all over the prequel era because there's a lot when you think about it. There's, especially with the Clone Wars that we keep talking about. That's a big topic for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot of stuff that entails, and plus it's the growth of Anakin and Obi-Wan and their relationship. And I'm a big fan of Obi-Wan. I love learning about Anakin. I did in parts of, I will say this, in Stealth, when Obi-Wan had some interactions with Yoda, and he kind of asked him, was it right of me to train Anakin? As he's a Jedi Knight and off with Ahsoka, and that whole aspect of things. But that was interesting. Even when he said he feels his relationship with Anakin was better than his and Qui-Gon. That was kind of, when I read that, I was like, wow, that's pretty powerful to hear him say that. So, because I've always thought Obi-Wan's relationship with Qui-Gon, if you read The Jedi Apprentice and it was really good. It was interesting. So yes, again, man, I want to thank you for doing this work, and it's awesome that this is something that you've wanted to do, and you're doing it.
Yeah, and as a final note, besides the books, obviously what I'm also trying to do, getting it out on YouTube, basically audiobook. I'm just gonna read the whole thing, which is gonna be, how long is gonna be an audiobook for, like 1,000 pages? Like, oh my god,
48 hours. No, I don't know.
it's
Longer
gonna
than
be
that.
insane.
Yeah. Well, but that would be fun too. Are you just going to do that in German?
I'm definitely gonna do the German version. I was thinking about already recording like one in English, like just for the post-endo chronology that I
Sure.
have written
Your first
already.
one. Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know if I'm gonna do that or just wait until the whole thing is completed. But for the English one, I think it would be better to get a native English speaker.
Okay.
Even though I had a couple of people tell me my accent would help
Yeah.
reading it with some of the alien names because they sound cooler when I say them.
No, yeah, you have a good voice. You have a good voice. I'm going to tell you that. Even my grandmother, who watches, mind you, I want to say hi to my grandmother. She's like, I really like that Noah. He sounds different. So there you have that. There's a little insight from over here for you, my friend.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that I think that would be cool. I
Mhm.
would listen to that. Throw it on in the it's hard for me to read audiobooks, okay? But now like a radio drama, like I can enjoy listening to the original Star Wars radio dramas. Like I don't have a problem with that. But trying to read an audiobook if I'm not really focused on it, I just can't do it. It's just not I just can't. I don't have the attention span of that. Because then I'm trailing off and I'm cooking and I'm burning the eggs and this is happening and then the smoke alarm's going off and I'm still trying to listen. No, I'm just kidding. That never happened. But you get my gist there.
Mhm.
Is there anything else that you want to add or throw out there? Get off your chest?
I don't know right now. Well, I mean, I can say where I am right now with the project. Old Republic is done, prequel era is done, post Endo is done. That means Rebellion era next. Oh boy. And I mean to be fair, okay, first off is a section that I call Profiles in History.
Okay.
And it's the life stories of Han Solo, Lando Calrissian, Luke and Leia, and the droids between Revenge of the Sith and New Hope.
Yep.
And that's still easy enough to write. That's where I am right now. But then we get to the Rebellion era and the Galactic Civil War. That will make Dark Times and the Clone Wars look easy in comparison because, oh boy, so many, not even really the books, but the comics and the games. It's just insane.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff that you're gonna have to dig through and sift through, and yeah. I'll have to get you back on.
Oh, definitely, because I already want to apologize because I know I'm gonna miss like one or two little things because it's so massive, that Galactic Civil War.
Well, yeah, and really you're only one guy and you're tackling this project, so I mean it's to be expected, but I don't know, it seems your first one you did a pretty darn good job. I'm sure the Old Republic is going to, I can't wait to get that. I'm excited for that because I really enjoy the Old Republic era. And I'm currently in the prequel era. So, to be honest with you, I wish I had them all right now because then I could go back but yeah, I'll have to get, like I said, I'll have to get you back on. So, like, even in the mix of you writing this, because I know it's going to be a project.
Oh, yeah, this is the last big one now. Like, the profiles in history, this part about the life story, like that's easy. And then Rebellion era, that's the part I was the most afraid of. Like next to the Clone Wars before I decided to throw TCW out.
Yeah. Well, that probably saved some time trying to decipher all that 7 seasons.
Definitely, because when did I start like writing the Old Republic one? I think January?
Yeah, it was earlier in the year.
Yeah, Post Endo came out in December when I released it in paperback. So yeah, January to April, and I wrote 400 pages, plus minus. So
yeah,
that's pretty good.
Yeah, you're cooking. You're hard at it, and that's good. And like I said, it's got to be fun. I know I wouldn't be having fun if that was something. I just don't have that gift. that talent to do something like that, my friend. So yeah, I'm thanks for coming on. Thanks for talking about it. I'm glad we'll get this out there, and it's really good. I can't say that enough, man. I'm excited. I always enjoy talking with you. I always
Mhm.
do. It's fun because you're so quick. You know, you're just naming off these times and you're like this and that. It's like, holy man, Noah, settle down.
Yeah, it's from writing it down. It's all in here. I have to get it out.
Yeah. But yeah, I enjoy talking with you. I always appreciate you coming on, my friend. I appreciate everyone watching. Obviously, I'm going to put Quality Autism's link in the channel. We'll keep you posted. I'll do my best to bring you this footage here, this live. Maybe we'll go live one day and we'll have a big event with it. Talk about it. That'd be fun. Get some people to ask questions because I don't know them all, but it'd be a great time. It'd be fun.
Mhm.
So yeah. On that note, thanks everyone for watching and liking. Please share with your grandmother. My grandmother watches. She likes Noah. I like that Noah, she says. So yeah.
Yeah, thanks. That's great.
But yeah, there you have it, folks. Quality Autism Noah. The prequels chronology is coming out soon. And he's going to be working on the next one, and we'll go from there. But until next time, see you guys soon.